We're back. It's been a minute. Can you hold on? Are we rolling?
Oh, we were rolling.
Okay, yeah. No, the little layout on this thing looked different. Whatever. We're fucking in it. Gonna pop my Modelo here.
Modelo.
Not
a bad way to start.
Official beer of the UFC, which is good because we're recording this at it is 3:00 on the dot Central right now. I think it's UFC Vegas 69. Andrade Blanchfield is starting right now. Prelims are starting right now. So if we talk about them a little later, we don't know how they end yet. So we'll give predictions and things like that. But we have, by the time this comes out, the fights will be over. We have no idea right now how they've gone. But how can you possibly watch UFC fights without Modelo?
I'm watching it with Gentleman Jack on this fucking beautiful Saturday.
I went to the gas station down the street to pick up these Modelos, probably about an hour ago. No, about 30 minutes ago. And the guy there at the gas station, he's an older guy, and he never says anything to anybody. He's usually on the phone. Sometimes he'll give you a little hello, like under his breath, but he usually doesn't say nothing to you. He just checks you out, sends you on about your business. And I walked up there, put my Modelos down on the counter, and he laughed. Like, there's more emotion in his face than I've ever seen. And he was like, "Modelos today, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah, they're hard to beat." He's like, "You're right about that." We had a little interaction. I've been going to that gas station for almost 2 years now. And that is the most interaction he and I have ever had.
Doesn't it feel good?
It does, yeah. No, it is good. It caught me by surprise. I don't know. He never says anything. We always go on about our business, but he's like, Modelo today. I mean, my beer choices, if I'm buying beer at the store, it's probably going to be a Modelo. I might pick up something like a Shock Top or
Platinums.
Maybe some Platinums if I want something a little heavier. But I would say Modelo is usually my go-to. Have you drank a Corona recently, like at all?
I think it's probably been like a year since I've had a Corona.
Yeah, because that used to be my go-to. I would go over to your place and bring over Coronas, just a case of them. And I tried a Corona a couple months ago, and I was like, "This is disgusting." I was like, "This is terrible." Why that was my go-to beer for quite some time, like in college and stuff. I was drinking Coronas, and I tried one a few months back, and I'm like, "This is not good. Why was I drinking these?" Like I feel like Modelos are just better. They taste better, and Modelo is good with or without lime. Corona is probably pretty good with lime, but without it, it just kind of tastes terrible. It doesn't smell good, tastes bad. I don't know what was going through my head in college. Not much.
Not much.
Actually, the answer to that question. I was doing a lot of what I do now, fucking around.
A lot of fucking around, thinking about political science shit.
Yeah, pretty much. Just thinking about politics and no, not much has changed. Now I have a podcast where I talk about politics. So I wanted one back then too. We talked about one way back in the day, years ago. Never got it together, but finally we are on episode 42 of I think that's right. What does this thing say up top? Yeah, 42. And I wanted to kick off this episode not talking about beer, but although that is good, if people were wondering what we're sipping on, I want to talk a little shit about YouTube.
Fuck YouTube.
Yeah, fuck YouTube, dude. They took down one of my videos, man. And I tweeted about it. I think when I texted you about it, my wordage was, "These liberals at YouTube took down my video." They did, man. They took down my video. And they might take down this one too, just because I'm going to mention some things that, I mentioned in the one that they took down, but whatever. This past Wednesday, there was a Libertarian presidential forum moderated by Larry Sharp and Chrissy Mayer. and it had 4 candidates: Chase Oliver, Lars Mapstead, Mike Tremont, Joshua Rodriguez. People who have been listening to the podcast past few months recognize those last 2 names because they've been on the show. And I logged into my YouTube account to watch the forum and discovered that YouTube had taken down one of my videos, the video of the podcast I did with Joshua Rodriguez. And the reason that YouTube gave me for removing that video was medical misinformation. And we all know what that means.
Tell our wonderful audience who YouTube has to have their medical information aligned with. Whose views?
Oh yeah, they specifically said in the little fucking message they sent me or whatever. They specifically said that they do not allow content on their platform that criticizes the World Health Organization's COVID guidance. That is it's damn near word for word what they said. Now, I haven't listened back through the whole episode. One, because it's almost an hour and a half long. I think it's like an hour 15, hour 20 minutes. And 2, I don't really like listening to my own voice. I feel like a lot of people feel that way. I do listen to some parts of my podcast just to make sure that like the levels are, like the levels of audio for like myself and my guest are about even. And, I try to make sure that like the intro music is not too loud. Things like that. So, I mean, I'll listen to a little bit of it or, whatever, but I don't listen to my episodes in full because who wants to listen to their own voice for an hour and a half? And YouTube did not specify what part of the video they had an issue with. They just basically sent me my own video back and they were like, this is the problem. And it's just the whole episode.
Fuck YouTube.
They didn't cut out a clip. They didn't give me like a time stamp. They didn't give me nothing. They were just like, this video is the problem. But I imagine it's because we criticized vaccine and mask mandates for a little bit of the podcast. Now, I don't think we even mentioned vaccine injury. I do not think it came up. Maybe Josh mentioned it briefly, but we did not have an extended conversation about it. We might not have even had an extended conversation about COVID, maybe a little bit, but the podcast was an hour and a half long. We talked about so much other shit. And it's just silly for YouTube to take a little anecdote like that and use it as justification to remove an entire video. I posted about the situation on Twitter the same day as the forum this past Wednesday. I appealed the decision. My appeal was rejected like I imagined it would be. And as a result, the strike that they put on my account will remain for 90 days. I think when we talked about it initially, I thought that those strikes were permanent. I don't know why I thought that. But I think they only last for 90 days. But if you get 3 strikes in that 90-day period, your channel is like banned permanently.
Damn. Well, this one's going to get flagged too. So we're going to have 2 strikes.
Yeah. Whatever. I thought they might be permanent. They're not, but I mean, I'm going to put out a fair amount of episodes over the next 90 days. So, I hope YouTube leaves them the fuck alone. And, I don't know. Thank God the strikes aren't permanent, I guess, but, it sure would be fucking nice if YouTube valued free speech and didn't bow to the World Health Organization and COVID alarmists. I mean, come on, man. We know that the World Health Organization, governments around the world, and federal, state, and local governments here in the States made just misguided and just flat out wrong and harmful policy decisions under the guise of slowing the spread. I mean, really my 2 main points are in bringing this up on the show, and we're not going to spend forever on it, but my 2 main points are we deserve the right to criticize bad government policy, COVID-related or otherwise. And Joshua Rodriguez is a candidate for president of the United States, and voters deserve to hear from him. And, we've mentioned it before. Fucking YouTube might remove this episode as well. We've already mentioned a bunch of different buzzwords that might attract the attention of whatever algorithm they use to determine what videos are acceptable to the hive mind or not. YouTube is not even a main source of listens for this podcast. It's actually kind of the opposite. My YouTube channel has gotten fucking straight up no traction whatsoever, which is fine. My podcast is available on a bunch of other platforms. It's totally fine. But I would like to continue using the largest video sharing platform in the world to spread my podcast. And I'd love for YouTube to leave my videos the fuck alone. Leave me alone. Dude, I'm not saying nothing crazy.
All these words you said, you've mentioned YouTube so many times. You've probably mentioned, I'm sure their algorithm is like, does it say YouTube and fuck YouTube? And they're like, oh yeah, ban that shit. They fucking are just like, that fucking chat AI bullshit, AI nonsense is fucking listening. We hadn't discussed that. That hasn't been on the podcast yet, but
no,
I think it's, yeah. We don't have to get into that right now. I'll keep you on your fucking, you got a schedule. So fucking.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I might have mentioned it with fucking either Rodriguez or Keenan Dunham, who's running for president too. He wasn't a part of that forum for whatever reason, but I mentioned it with one of those two. We talked about like AI and stuff like that. They're very interesting podcasts that I've done in the past couple of weeks with my guests. It sure would be nice if YouTube didn't take them down. Leave them alone, man. We didn't even say anything crazy. Like I said, we weren't on there saying something. We weren't saying like Damar Hamlin's a fucking clone or whatever. Weird, you know what I'm saying? Like, we weren't saying this real weird shit that some of these like hardcore, anti fucking whatever I don't even know what you would call them. Like we weren't even going down that road. We were just saying that vaccine mandates are fucking stupid and mask mandates. Come on, like we know that they didn't do all that much to slow the spread. I don't think that's a controversial thing to say, but according to YouTube, it is.
I feel like vaccine mandates. I think COVID vaccine mandates are bullshit. I think there's probably some general vaccines that we know are very safe that you should probably give to your little fucking kids before they go to school with other kids. I don't know though. I mean, unless I don't know. Fucking, that's a whole nother discussion. We have a pretty libertarian audience. They probably are going to fucking call me an idiot, but
Yeah, we were like specifically talking about the COVID vaccine. We weren't even talking about like any other vaccines or anything like that. We were talking specifically about the COVID vaccine and how the government shouldn't force people to get it, which should not be that controversial a decision. And even if it was, like, why? Like, we can't have a healthy discussion, this is not a show where I debate people, but like there can't be healthy discussion and debate on whether people should be forced to get the COVID vaccine.
If someone who wants to force fucking COVID vaccine wants to come on this show and have a debate, they're more than fucking welcome to. This is the podcast of the people. Yeah, they might get shamed, but fucking whatever.
They might get taken down. Might not be up for very long. And the other thing too is, Spotify started adding like COVID disclaimers under certain episodes. I think they started doing it after the whole Rogan thing. And they don't even hit my show with those, like Spotify doesn't care. Spotify is cool. YouTube sucks on the other hand.
I wonder what popped on the YouTube thing.
Do what?
I wonder what popped on the YouTube thing. Like, what was it? Was it because you had fucking Josh Rodriguez? That was the one that got. Yeah, that's the one that got.
Yeah, that was it. I don't know. I assume that they have some sort of fucking thing that like automatically detects certain words or phrases, and then they use that to determine whether a video should be banned. And then, I mean, maybe they have somebody look over it. YouTube did respond to my tweet for what it's worth. It's not really worth anything because they still fucking removed the episode. They did respond to me fairly quickly after I tweeted about it, but they still kept the episode removed. So my issue remains. I'm just irritated. I'm irritated at YouTube. It sucks. Like I had a conversation with a presidential candidate and YouTube doesn't think that should remain on their platform, which is just crazy to me. It's absolutely insane.
Well, I mean, it's not like, other presidential candidates or presidents have been banned from platforms before,
which is also fucking stupid.
It is also fucking stupid.
Stupid. I mean, never should have removed Trump.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. I mean, he's the president. He was the president. He was the current president when he was removed. Like, he was the current president of the United States when he was kicked off Twitter, and I don't think that. I think
I want to play devil's advocate though, but I don't fucking agree with any of the shit I'm necessarily about to say. But like, was there any reason at all? Like, I know that he had that one fucking video where he was like, go home, yada, 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 fucking, like, and there was people, like, kind of inside the Capitol and shit like that. And, like, I mean, I'm all for fucking, you know, I don't give a fuck. You shouldn't burn down fucking cities, and you shouldn't break in shit. But, like, I think everything there was just fucking. I think as an American, as all Americans probably were that weren't there, and even the ones who were there were probably just like what the fuck? Why can't I walk into this congressional person's fucking office and kick my fucking feet up and walk out with a fucking stand and shit like that? They were. I mean, I always assumed you'd get fucking shot. You know, if you did any crazy shit like that. I think most people assumed you'd get shot if you started acting out.
Yeah, they do have law enforcement everywhere in DC. I've only been one time, but that is something you notice. You know, when you're in DC, you're like, damn.
Oh, you feel like it? I've also only been one time. It feels like a different world. You know, like
yeah, it kind of feels similar to some of the towns like closer to the border here, with like border patrol and everything like that. You know, you drive through and there's border patrol like everywhere. You notice them everywhere. It feels like that. You feel like law enforcement is everywhere, and it's because they are everywhere. You know, it's I don't know. It's an interesting, it makes sense why there's law enforcement everywhere. You know, like it's not a surprise, but it feels different. It doesn't feel like you can get away with a whole lot when you see cops everywhere, but they got away with a whole bunch on January 6th, a whole lot more than I think a lot of people would have expected.
So, I mean, I would understand if, like, in the moment, you felt like that video fucking might have just kind of, like, go home, you know, he kind of way it wasn't very sternly saying, like, cut the shit out. Like, I can understand, like, I mean, temporary bans are one thing. I mean, if, like, the situation calls for it. But see, all that, the bullshit part is this is just like a United States thing. Like, fucking crazy leaders all over the fucking world call for violence on Twitter fucking regularly, you know? Like, there's people who are literally calling for violence, but Twitter won't. Like, where are your... I'm not going to fucking word it like that on the podcast, but, like, what the fuck are you really doing over there, you know? Like, what's your fucking problem? But they take down your fucking podcast. Yeah, fuck them. Yeah. The third time, fuck YouTube, you know?
Just if they were looking for another reason. I've seen other people make, with regard to Trump, getting banned off Twitter. I've seen other people make the case that, like, I believe the head of the Taliban is on Twitter, and I believe, or like maybe the Taliban just as a group is. I'm not 100% sure. I don't follow them. You know,
not a follower.
Not a big fan. Don't follow them. And then who I think the supreme leader of Iran is also on Twitter. Not a super great guy. Both the Taliban and the supreme leader of Iran way worse than Trump.
Side note here, and fucking, I guess this is going on the podcast, so I guess you can choose your answers wisely. Would you have any interest in some fucking member of the Taliban coming on the fucking podcast?
No, I don't think I would, man.
You don't think like I mean, not in like a supportive way or anything like that, or giving them a platform, but I personally think it'd be cool just to hear how people fucking think. You know, like, what fucked up shit have you come from that fucking? Well, I mean, I assume it's fucked up because I grew up in the West. You know, like, but like, how do these other humans view this fucking shit? Everything in the world. I think it's kind of interesting, but I don't know if it's meant for the podcast. You know,
I don't think it's meant for my podcast. I mean, I've seen journalists interview like members of Hamas, and I'm sure there have been journalists that have interviewed members of the Taliban and everything like that. I am not a journalist, not by any stretch of the imagination. I'm drinking a fucking Modelo, talking to you on this podcast. I'm not a journalist.
I feel like you're a journalist in ways. There's a lot of clowns that call themselves fucking journalists. You know, I feel like. Oh,
that is true. That is true, and. There's some things we could say about that. There are a lot of clowns calling themselves journalists out there that are not actual journalists, but I'm also not an actual journalist. I like to have I like to have lighthearted conversations with people that I find interesting.
That's fair.
Like it's not a debate show. Like I don't want to debate someone. It's not something I'm interested in. I don't really have any. It's not, that's just not really what this kind of show is. Like I've had plenty of guests on that have said things, usually in passing, that I'm not. I mean, sometimes even just outright, said things that I don't necessarily agree with, but I'm not going to just interrupt them in the middle of a podcast and be like, "How dare you? That's fucking stupid," or whatever. It's not that kind of show.
I guess if you had some ISIS motherfucker on here, you might be more inclined to like you don't want to argue. It wouldn't really fit the show because you're not trying to like have somebody on here who everything they say could be possibly extremely fucking controversial. That's that. I think that shit probably is better reserved for like the fucking shit like Vice or whatever the fuck that's going to send some journalists into a fucking war zone for like $30K.
Yeah. I'm just, I'm not that guy. I just don't. Yeah, no, I personally just don't really have any interest in bringing somebody.
You also don't want a bunch of feds
on the show.
You don't want a bunch of feds tuning into your shit,
yeah. I don't need any feds fucking knocking on my door and raiding my fucking single bedroom apartment. It's just not really what I need.
Like I said at the beginning of this, is just to reiterate, I don't agree with any of the things that I just said. I was just, having a thought experiment,
Yeah. I think I'll stick to Libertarian candidates and
UFC fighters.
A UFC fighter every fucking 4 months. I don't know, man. I'd like to have more UFC fighters on. I think that would be really cool. They don't respond to my DMs though. Libertarians, they'll respond to you fucking DMs. They will. There's a certain
kind of person that's trying to get their voice out there. Candidates hit that fucking mark dead on,
Yeah. They're very accessible people. Well, I mean,
not all of them, but these libertarian ones are, because they fucking are real people who deserve, an actual seat at the two-party table,
Yeah. And they, much like I'm, like very appreciative of the guests that come on my show, and I tell them, and you could ask any, I always tell them, very appreciative that they're on the show. I usually say it on here, and then after we wrap up an episode, we might exchange a couple Twitter messages, and I just, reiterate, very thankful they came on the show. And I feel like a lot of them feel similarly, like even though my podcast is not the biggest podcast in the world, it doesn't give you as much exposure as, like the Libertarian Forum they had a couple days ago, or going on somebody's show like Larry Sharp or Spike Cohen, one of those guys. It's not going to get you nearly that much exposure. But I think they do genuinely appreciate that somebody wants to have them on their show and wants to prop up libertarian candidates like I've been doing. Yeah, who was it? It was Mike Termott, another presidential candidate. He said something about like the importance of propping up other pro-liberty candidates. And, it's important for libertarians to have each other's back, because they're not going to get this kind of coverage in, the mainstream news or anything like that. And I mean, really outside of the medium of podcasts, they're not going to be able to go on to, even if they did get a spot on like CNN or MSNBC, what are they going to get? 5 minutes, 10 minutes at best? And, they're going to have a fucking host talking over them and asking them all the shit they don't care about. And, when they can come on a podcast like mine or like somebody else's and feel free to speak freely about whatever, except for fucking vaccines, apparently, but whatever, Yeah.
You said something. I was going to make a joke and just shame the Libertarian Party for how long this took them. You said libertarians, pro-liberty people, should have each other's backs and try to support each other, unless there's somebody who exposes themselves to minors, in which case, get them the fuck out of here,
That is a fucking excellent transition. Because while I've spent the first 20 minutes shitting on YouTube, let's go ahead and shit on just after I've said the importance of propping up libertarian candidates. Let's shit on the Libertarian Party for a minute. Because now I'm not going to, it's not really my intention to give the rally that they're doing, the Rage Against the War Machine rally. I don't really want to give it a whole lot of exposure. I'm not going to tell you when it is or where to find it or whatever. But the Libertarian Party is like the main organizer for the rally. And I do wish I had some extra notes and had dug into some of these people a little more. So kind of lacking on some specifics that I might have had, a week or two ago. I had originally planned to talk about it on like last week's podcast, but I was a little sick and, the fucking Volkanovski Islam fight had just happened and the Super Bowl had just happened. So there were big sports things. And like I said, I was a little sick, sore throat, fever, whole 9 yards. So I just kind of left the political stuff off, made it mostly a sports podcast. But I did want to shit on the Libertarian rally a little bit because they invited a guy by the name of Scott Ritter on there, and he's former Marine. He was an intelligence officer. He did some other shit too. I can't remember exactly what, but he also is a convicted sex offender, and he was convicted of, I believe he was convicted of exposing himself to a minor online. Actually, let me see here. Let me get it real specific.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to fucking slander anybody. You want to make sure you hit those facts good on the head,
Yeah. I'm scanning through the Wikipedia page right now. So he was arrested and this is not the first time he had been caught doing this. Let's make that clear. He's done this multiple times, and this is publicly available information on his Wikipedia page. So all it would have taken is for the Libertarian Party to fucking Google this guy and look at his Wikipedia page for them to determine that he should not be invited to this rally in any capacity. He was arrested in November 2009 over communications with a police decoy. This is on Wikipedia. He met on an internet chat site. Police said that he exposed himself via a webcam after the officer repeatedly identified himself as a 15-year-old girl.
Huh.
And then, it goes on to say that, some stuff about Ritter's testimony. He said he thought she was over 18, despite the fact that, the fucking officer said repeatedly that she was 15. And again, like I said, this is not the first time he's been caught doing this. He got in trouble in 2001, and the documents are sealed, so there's not a whole lot of specific information on it. But he was charged in 2001 for trying to set up a meeting, again, from Wikipedia, with an undercover police officer posing as a 16-year-old girl.
How do you not learn? How are you that fucking stupid? Also, you're a sick fuck. I have there's other thoughts, but I don't want to fucking encourage violence or anything like that because that's an obvious YouTube flag.
He's a sick fuck. And like the idea, like the Libertarian Party, they had to have known about this. Because it's right here. I'm looking at Wikipedia. He has a whole section on his fucking Wikipedia page that says arrest and conviction for sex offenses. So it was literally a Google search and one click away. And he did end up going to prison for a couple of years for it. Let me see. October 2011, he received a sentence of 1.5 to 5.5 years in prison. Not enough. He was sent
not enough. It's not good.
Not enough. He was sent to a state prison in March 2012 and paroled 2014. So he was caught. He did this multiple times. He was caught. The first case ended up getting, he either settled or something happened and they sealed the documents. I'm not 100% sure. But he was convicted after this incident in 2009. He went to prison for it. He's a registered, convicted sex offender. And the Libertarian Party and the Mises Caucus thought it was appropriate to invite him. I don't know why they would do that or even want to associate themselves with a guy like that. Now, since, again, I wanted to talk about this incident, earlier. It just didn't happen in some of the earlier podcasts. It is important to say that Ritter did of his own, he did this on his own, but he pulled out of the rally. This is after the Libertarian Party made a statement saying that they said something like it would be best if Ritter not attend. They did not disinvite him. He chose to pull out of the rally. So even if you assume they didn't know, which is not the case, they definitely knew who he was and what he did. They still invited him. Even if you assume that they didn't know, after you find out, should you not disinvite him? They knew about all this controversy. They made a statement about it where they said it would be best if he didn't attend, but they were not the ones to disinvite him. He chose not to go. And the idea that the Libertarian Party just fucking, like, they didn't care. That's really the best way to put it. They didn't care that he was a convicted sex offender who wanted to and intended to expose himself to a minor online. And that's fucking disgusting. And it's crazy to me that there are other people, that are like excited for this rally and going to it. I was pretty disappointed to see Ron Paul's name on there. There are a couple of other big name guests, like Tulsi Gabbard is going to be there. I haven't checked the lineup recently, so I assume all these people are still attending. Dennis Kucinich, former congressman, is going to be there. And there's a whole lot of other people. And it's just crazy to me that they would agree to attach their names to a rally with a guy like this on there. And not only a guy like Ritter, a real piece of shit guy, but other people who are like literally on the Russian government, the Russian government's payroll. And I even think there's another guy who's on the Iranian government's payroll. So and there are people this is supposed to be an anti-war rally. And there are multiple speakers that are going to be at this rally that have said themselves that they are pro-war and pro-Russia. Now, I'm not a genius, I'm not a genius, but it makes sense to me that if you're going to have an anti-war rally, you not invite people that are pro-war and say themselves explicitly they are pro-war. That just makes sense.
Did they say they were pro-war, or were they like they're pro Russia fucking invading Ukraine or whatever the fuck? Okay, because pro-war is not good. I know the fucking Russia thing, there's people who, don't, we all have that little fucking conspiracy bit to us where we're like, wait a fucking second, is anything, what it's told it is? But whatever. I'm sure there's everything is a gray area in some way. Nothing is clearly black and white. But I feel like being anti-war generally, that is black and white. You should not fucking want to. I don't know. I mean, is there a justifiable war? That's a different fucking conversation. But no, continue with what you were talking about. We could do a long podcast on that. There are people that have described themselves as both like pro-war and pro-Russia. And again, this is supposed to be an anti-war rally. It doesn't make any sense to me you would invite someone that has publicly described themselves as pro-war. I also don't think you can describe yourself as anti-war or be a speaker at an anti-war rally if you are pro-Russia. I think there is a very clear distinction to be made between, you can criticize the Ukrainian government, you can criticize Zelensky, you can criticize the aid that we're giving to Ukraine and how much we're giving and how that money is being spent. You can criticize all of these things, and we can have, a conversation about that. But to be pro-Russia, like the country that is invading Ukraine, to support the invaders is a pro-war stance. How could you possibly invite these people that, approve of the invaders invading Ukraine? It does not make sense. It doesn't make sense. I don't know why the Libertarian Party and the Mises Caucus and the People's Party, which is like a socialist / communist political party, minor political party. I don't know why they would invite people like that to the rally, but they did, and they got a lot of backlash for it, rightfully so. What is the reason for what is the? I probably sound like a fucking idiot. What is the reason that Russia has given for the fucking invasion? I know it's been like the fucking. This is again trying to play devil's advocate without actually having that strong of feelings about. I lean that yes, Russia has invaded Ukraine and everything else, but like after that, I don't really know, what's the motive? I mean, I feel like this has been going on. Next week will be a year now. Like, is this I mean, it's a couple things. From my understanding, it's, NATO and shit. We haven't really had a long discussion about this. Like, it's NATO and shit like that. Like, Ukraine's kind of this fucking, it's kind of a fucking very corrupt kind of fucking place, but it's kind of like the most Western Eastern country, but also like the most Eastern Western country. It's just fucking, and like a lot of people are native Russians and shit like that. Like, I heard some shit today, like it was like, the reasoning was like that Russia is trying to make it where we are not a like independent fucking nation, yada yada yada. Like, I mean, I don't know. Human history's been around quite a long time. At one point, Ukraine was its own thing, and at one point, it was fucking not its own thing. So, like, it's just like making an argument about something that's not really like. You can think about the world in your own little snapshot of time, or you can think about the world in like the whole thing that's existed so far. And like, if you're not all on the same page, you're going to have very different opinions about things like land borders and cultural shit and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I believe the two main reasons that Russia has given for the invasion is, well, like their goal, I guess you could say, is to denazify Ukraine. And then they've also tied in like NATO expansion, obviously something that Russia does not support. Russia has said that, like NATO getting closer and closer to their borders is, that's also a justification.
I think that's pretty. I don't like if that argument. I don't disagree with. Like, I mean, fuck it. There's a lot of ways to look at like global relationships. I don't think. I mean, that was something I really liked about Trump was he's like, why can't we just fucking? You can say whatever, you can believe whatever fucking conspiracy you want about his relationship with Russia and shit like that. Which I feel like most our listeners probably, that's all dog shit. I feel like everybody's already established that that's dog shit. But anyways, it's like what is, I don't know. Fucking, he was like, we should get along. Why not just get along with them? I mean, why not just rewrite this fucking episode of human history the way you want to rewrite it or make it what it, I mean, it's not everything is like your whole, even like your thoughts on your own country and like what it is. Everything is what you fucking believe it is. When it comes to things like that aren't like a fucking measurable science. Mm-hmm.
I feel like foreign relations is a really, really tricky thing. It's hard to balance like wanting to get along with other countries and wanting to advance your own goals. Because I feel like, especially if you look at the relationship between like the United States and Russia or NATO and Russia, I feel like they have like contradictory goals. NATO was created explicitly to prevent Russian expansion. And Russia is a country kind of notorious for wanting to expand and have more territory. And I've said before, I don't know if I've said it on here, but I think, I think Putin fancies himself after, a lot of people compare him to Stalin. And I don't think that's, well, one, their political ideologies are not the same. Like, Putin is not a communist. He is an authoritarian, just like Stalin was, but he's not a communist. He's a right-wing authoritarian. And I've said before that I think a more appropriate description of Putin is or a more, like someone he actually wants to emulate is Peter the Great. I think that is more kind of the realm that he sees himself as. I think he wants to rebuild that Russian empire, and I think that annexing Ukraine, or at least parts of Ukraine, the parts that have been in conflict basically this entire time, I think I think he would consider that a win a major win for himself and his legacy. Because Putin is, how old is Putin actually? Let me fucking see. There's all these rumors about his health and things like that, but a lot of those rumors are not really based in anything. But he is older. You know, he's not.
He'll be fucking tapping his foot at some fucking meeting, and people are like, "Oh, look at him! Look what he's doing with his feet." I mean, yeah, it looks fucking weird, but like, I mean, he's obviously not a fucking normal person. He's, you know, like he's a world leader. There's no normal person who fucking becomes a world leader. You know.
No, you have to be crazy to even want the gig.
Crazy as fuck, dude. What the fuck is wrong with you? I mean, I say that, and you have people on your podcast who are trying to be a world leader, but they never win because they fucking are too reasonable. You know, that's the thing.
Yeah. And to be fair, I think maybe a lot of those guys would also describe themselves as crazy for running for president too.
Oh, for fucking sure. Yeah.
Especially because the convention, the Libertarian convention is, I believe it's a little over a year away. So like they're going to have to go through this whole fucking, I mean, you look at how grueling and everything like the Republican primaries and the Democratic primaries and the general election are. It's the same thing for the Libertarians. They've got to campaign endlessly, all these months, over a year. You know, I bet, you know, if they're not crazy before, you know, they started their campaign for president, the campaign will probably make them crazy. You know, all the traveling around and all these different meetings and forums and debates and everything like that. So yeah, if they weren't crazy before, the campaign might make them crazy.
All that just to fucking get shut out by the fucking bullshit corporate media and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why it's important to come on podcasts and things.
It's why it's fucking important to make this motherfucking podcast the biggest goddamn podcast there ever was, so people can hear how real people talk, you know, go below the surface.
Shit, we're working on it. Putin is 70 years old. That was what I originally wanted to look up.
That's about, that's quite the accomplishment. He's been leader of Russia for how long? Over a decade.
Oh yeah, no, it's been like over 2 decades at this point. Well, he had to take a break there in between because something with the terms and whatnot.
Yeah, no, he fucking went from being like president to prime minister back to fucking president or something.
Yeah, you know, yeah, that's what it was. And then he amended the Constitution so that he could remain in power for a couple more terms.
What a fucking what a fucking cool thing to do, you know?
Yeah, it's a wild power to have. It's like, you know, I don't like these term limits. Let me just get rid of them. Let me just throw them out. Also, just speaking on Putin's health, I wish I could remember which government did this. I think it was the Danish government. One of their like intelligence chiefs was like, we believe Putin is dying of cancer. And what proof did they give of that? Just the way that he looked at like a public appearance that he did. They're like, oh, it's something with his face. We can tell that he has this kind of cancer and we think he's going to die in a couple of months. I'm like, you don't know any of these things.
What a fucking embarrassment, you know?
It's so like they didn't cite anything, nothing. They're guessing. But like this is the head of, I think it was the Danish intelligence agency. I'm not 100% sure. Whatever. It was one of them countries over there, you know? It was one of them. And they were like, wait, he's going to die of cancer in a couple of months. And it's like, what are y'all talking about? Y'all are just throwing shit out there, man. It's like Putin, you can criticize Putin and make fun of him and everything like that without having to just pull shit right out of your ass, you know? Like, yeah, there's just other ways to go about it.
Have people always been this fucking like has media always been that fucking stupid media and fucking politicians and shit? Like, have they always been dumb as shit? Or is this like because I feel like when you grow up, you fucking look at everything through rose-colored glasses. You're like, fucking president's supposed to do this. Everybody fucking, you know, leaders, you expect that leaders are fucking noble, intelligent individuals, but usually they're fucking idiots. Like, is that just a new thing, or has this always been this way?
Well, I think there is, just like as somebody who, you know, lives in America, I think you have an inherent desire to want to believe the best in like your country's intelligence agencies, right? Like you want to believe that they're doing important work for the country, and you know you want to have faith in your institutions. That's something that's been talked about endlessly over the past couple of years with Trump and everything like that. But like, I think the default position for most people is to want to assume that they are doing the best that they can, that they are acting in, you know, our interest. And I think that we know now that that's just not the case. And I mean, there's people that don't have the time or really even the desire to want to sit down and like look at all this stuff like we do, so people just kind of ignore it, and they don't hear the things that we hear about it, and they're focused on like providing for their family and fucking paying rent and things like that. They're not digging into this stuff. They're not going below the surface like people like you and me are. They just want to assume that their government is working in their best interest, but I feel like we all know that that's not the case all the time. They definitely are not acting in our interest every single time. And it's important for people like, well, it's important for the fucking media. Of course, the media sucks too. We could drag them all day, but that's why it's so important.
Let me interrupt you. For the fourth time, I'd like to say fuck YouTube, but
yeah, no, it's important for the mainstream media to call out our government and our intelligence agencies when they are doing things that are not in our interest. But oftentimes they don't. And we've seen, here recently, in the not too distant past, that our intelligence agencies, our government have been conspiring with, Twitter is a fucking prime example. They were conspiring to ban people for certain things and everything like that. Like Twitter and the FBI were working, in collusion with one another, to use another fucking favorite word of the mainstream media. And
this video is getting flagged for sure.
YouTube ain't gonna like this one. And like that stuff should be called out. And that's why it's so weird to see usually people on the left, because they don't like Elon and everything like that. They just ignore it. They don't think it's a big deal. But like the FBI coordinating with Twitter to, promote a certain narrative and to ban certain people, it's like that should be concerning to you.
That should be on the news until fucking pretty much until fucking something is done about it. Like there should be nothing else talked about in Congress until but that just goes to show you that you're seemingly pro liberty like Republicans are all also part of the fucking machine too.
Oh yeah, they definitely are. And I mean, you see this. Specifically with like the FBI and Twitter, Elon has, gotten certain people, different kinds of people to report, they're calling it the Twitter files. There's these big long threads that, I probably should pay a little more attention to.
I fucking 100% agree with that. I will occasionally check on, there's just been like 30 of them or something so far.
Yeah, there's been so many. It's you'll miss one. You don't hop on Twitter that much for a couple of days and you'll miss like 2 or 3 and you're like, God, I can't. It's like I'm already too far behind. But no, and you have one side, you have like the more right-wing crowd, the more libertarian crowd, criticizing the FBI and Twitter, the old school Twitter regime for doing this. And then you have people on the left that instead of criticizing, the old executives at Twitter and the FBI, they're criticizing like Elon and the people that he has tapped to, put out the Twitter files. Like they're attacking the people putting the information out rather than, the FBI and Twitter that were colluding to fucking ban people and promote a certain narrative. It's like they're attacking the messenger rather than like the actual problem. And it just goes, that's just one of many examples of just how polarizing everything has become. Everything. There's hardly bipartisanship on anything, except for stripping away your rights. The duopoly does love that. They fucking love it, man. That's why it's important to support pro-liberty candidates when you can. Both parties want to take away your civil liberties. They're just chopping away left and right, both of them, in different ways. And you shouldn't support any of it. It should all be concerning to people, regardless of what side you're on. There's no need to be so tribal with your political affiliation, your political party. You shouldn't be loyal to any political party. Like earlier in this podcast, I described myself as a libertarian, which I do kind of generally. I mean, if I had to slap a label on myself, that would probably be the one that I use, but it's not 100% accurate. I have libertarian views, I have conservative views, I have liberal views. It's just I'm I consider myself, pro-liberty, and I want, I want to promote people that are interested in protecting our civil liberties, and I described myself as a libertarian, but then I also went into a rant about how fucking ridiculous the Libertarian Party is being with this rally that they're doing and the people they're inviting.
I mean, there's definitely other things that, like, just for our listeners who are not solely libertarian. I'm sure, like, you said this before on the fucking podcast, though, like, the default is libertarian, but I think the default is libertarian with the recognition that there is a little bit of fucking, well, I mean, you look at something like this fucking shit happened. This is a really good fucking transition. The East Palestine shit, like, you need some kind of fucking, like, regulation on that shit. You need some kind of regulation on the rail. And, like, I think every American realizes that you need that, like, that if you have too much soul, like, fucking just pro-business shit happening, and, like, that sometimes people, like, businesses can get reckless when the almighty dollar is the most powerful thing. We need, like, I think most people, like you said in the past, the default was fucking libertarian. I think the default is more like a fucking Teddy Roosevelt, It's like, yeah, fucking nobody, like, if you explain human, like, or American history to people, what makes America fucking great, like, it's like being able to be pro-liberty, pro-fucking small business, and, like, getting rid of corruption and fucking monopolies and shit like that. Because then it's easy to, like, it's just like anything else. When you fucking have just a few people in charge of shit, it becomes very, like, it's easy to fuck shit up. There's personal interest involved. If you have 100 people in charge of fucking, how many people live in this country? I don't fucking know. Is it like it's 100 million? I don't know.
No, it's like 350 million.
Fucking.
It's a lot. I don't know the exact number, but
331 million. Yeah, goddamn, that's a lot.
That's a lot of people.
100 million. I'm a fucking idiot. We ain't had 100 million since, like, 1922.
Yeah, it's a lot of people, man. And like you said, like, being, like, you shouldn't be an anarchist, right? Like, there definitely needs to be some law and order, a little regulation, so that when things like the East Palestine thing happen, we can hold people accountable. You don't want businesses to just run amok. I mean, that's how you get, like, crony capitalism, and there's, like, a work corporatism. That's how you get something like that, and that's not ideal either. Like, you definitely need some guardrails there so shit doesn't just hit the fan. Now, I mean, what's going to happen to the railroad company and everyone else involved with the whole East Palestine debacle? I don't know. I have no clue.
I mean, they should be held accountable. They're like a major fucking railroad, Like, I mean, I think it's the same thing when it comes to, like, fucked up policing and shit like that. If you start going after, like, not after taxpayer dollars, but after their pensions and shit like that, there's so much more accountability. When everything's just all about, like I'm all about, like, like, fucking, I think the stock market's a good thing. I think shit like that, like, being able to sell shares of your shit is all good. But, like, when, oh man, the answer is honestly just getting money out of politics and getting it where fucking politicians can't trade in the market and shit like that. They could trade in, like, fucking, what is it called? Mutual funds or whatever the fuck. No, it's not the right. I don't know what the fuck it is, but, like, generally, like, pro US fucking shit, But, like, I know with this fucking train wreck, there was something about the fucking brakes on it. I don't know. I hadn't fucking looked into it enough. I just see the fucking fish dying in the water and then them offering a fucking grand to all the people living there. That's fucking insane. But,
yeah.
Like,
and I heard that, I don't know. I haven't looked into it since I heard it, but I heard that, like, a condition of accepting that $1,000 is that you can't join a lawsuit against the railroad.
Of course.
They're like, they're trying to buy people's silence because they know they fucked up bad. I mean, the mainstream media was, like, oddly quiet on this issue for a minute. I mean, there were people talking about it, of course. Like, obviously, I don't want to discount the people that were on it from the beginning, but I feel like at large, a lot of the media was oddly quiet, and just the more stuff you hear about it. I mean, the Ohio River is contaminated. There were those fucking videos, like, J.D. Vance was out there and he stirred up the water with a stick, and it just, it's like rainbow colored. And I saw a video of somebody, they made some coffee or something, and they used the water they had there, and they poured milk into it, and the fucking the coffee started like sizzling. like some fucking fried chicken, dude. Like sizzling.
That's fucking crazy. That's fucking insane.
Yeah. And I mean, they've issued a thing saying like, don't drink the fucking water. The whole Ohio River is contaminated. It supplies like 10% of the country's water. And here this man's trying to drink him some coffee, and the motherfucker starts sizzling.
Dude, not financial advice, but you should definitely, whatever company that is, you should definitely short the fuck out of them on your fucking little stock market account. Yeah,
really fuck them up. Let them know they fucked up.
Like, remember there was that company that fucking. This is again not financial advice for anyone, for any of the fucking regular 100 or so listeners. I don't know how many people listen.
Don't take financial advice from.
I'm fucking no. I will. If you want financial advice, I will lose you all your money if you get it from me. Yeah, no, fucking. What was that bullshit out in California? Those people, the Paradise Fires and all that shit. Just fucking. The companies, they do their shit went straight the fuck down. Obviously, there's a big California utility company. Dude, fucking go buy you some puts. Why not? What's holding you back?
Yeah, that thing's gonna drop. Let me tell you, I'm not an expert, but their stock ain't gonna be doing so hot after something like that. It's just crazy. I mean, you see seeing the stuff in Ohio really is mind blowing. Like the cloud that was over the town and all the water being infected.
They were just like, come on back. After like 4 days, like, it ain't shit. Come on back. It ain't nothing.
It's like, wait a minute. What the fuck? It's like, wait, this doesn't seem right. Dude, there's literally the picture of the cloud. It literally looked like some sort of like Disney movie where the villain lives in a castle and it's just got these dark storm clouds over it. That's what fucking.
That's exactly what it looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were like, "Oh, come on back. It's fucking fine." It's like, no, it ain't fine, man. It ain't fine. That air ain't good. The water ain't good. There's fish dying like 100 miles away or whatever it is.
Dude,
like,
we both live a pretty fucking long distance away from we might be fucked too, Yeah,
that's the other thing too is the more information we hear about it, the more horrifying it is, and yet there's still stones that got to be unturned. There's stuff that we have no idea how long this will last, what the long-term effects will be.
I saw yesterday I don't know. This is me citing sources or whatever the fuck that, like, I can't recall. I'm off the dome, so that might have been dog shit. But, so far all of the conspiracies have turned out to be true. So I saw something the other day about, like, I think it was yesterday, they're finding out that there was a lot of other different chemicals in there as well. So not just the fucking shit that they used to make PVC pipe. I think that's what it was, burning up. Mm. It was like the liquid version. Apparently when it's in your pipes, it doesn't do shit to you. But like fucking now I don't even know what the fuck to believe, that should be surely some fucking nerd somewhere has studied that enough to know our pipes aren't, killing us, giving us cancer. But
you would hope.
You would hope. Maybe though, fucking who knows? Who knows? That's just like
nerds.
This fucking. I think it all wraps back around to getting fucking money out of politics is the move.
Yeah, I think so. And like a big part of this conversation has been like how pro-rail Biden is. And like whether that will affect like how harshly the railroad company is held.
Dude, he already said fuck their union. He said no, y'all bitches are working. Fuck, you don't get any days off. I don't know exactly what he said, but I know he did say fuck y'all, get back to work.
Yeah, no days off. We haven't even mentioned like the other like there have been other train derailments in other places that have had similarly harmful chemicals. Like I think there was one in Houston that had some harmful chemicals on it, and then I think one in South Carolina or North Carolina, one of those two. It's like what focusing on Ohio is important. Like, don't get it twisted. That's a big one. But like, there are all these other train derailments that have happened, and train derailments I've since learned since the Ohio thing is not uncommon. But I feel like they don't always like produce these harmful chemicals and like spill them out into our water and into the ground. And
what if they fucking do? We just haven't been being told about it.
Yeah, just constant. We average like 4 to 5 train derailments a day.
It's insane. What the fuck is that about?
Yeah. What if every one of them is just pumping awful shit into our environment? We don't. Maybe not. But like,
why would you ever get on a fucking train? I don't know. I'd like to know where they're derailing. Go fix that shit. I don't get it. That's where you create wealth in your fucking country. If government's going to do anything, it's fucking funding that kind of shit. I don't know. Or you can make private businesses fund it too. That would probably fucking strengthen the dollar a little bit more. But I mean, if there's anything you're going to spend money on as a government, it's like infrastructure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, infrastructure spending is, it's usually not bad. Like the return on your dollar is very good. Of course, there's other things you have to take into account, like the state of the economy and inflation and everything like that. But yeah, I mean, if you were looking for, if you were going to put money into something, I feel like infrastructure is a better bet than a lot of the other useless shit that.
I mean, does spending on that kind of shit strengthen? I guess it strengthens your economy, but would it be better? I guess it is kind of done by private businesses funded kind of with the government. I think this is kind of that thing where it's like there's a gray area. Like government doesn't need to like handle all of it, but I don't know. I guess that's a good thing that tax dollars go for. I'd be happy to pay some taxes if it fucking goes to fixing the fucking railroads,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like it to go to stupid shit.
Yeah, if it keeps the railroad or it keeps the train upright and not contaminating our water,
it'd be great.
And that'd be nice. That would be nice. Yeah, want to do a little bit of a transition here, just because we have crossed the hour mark and there are fights on, and I do have to pee. So
yeah, I do too. That's funny.
Just to close this out.
I've drank about fucking half this bottle of Gentleman Jack. It's not a big bottle, but it's not the smallest bottle they have either.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, great drink for the podcast. Yeah, I feel like we've talked about some real depressing shit on the show. I mean, well, it's just been, YouTube taking the video down, and we talked about Russia and Ukraine and, the East Palestine thing and everything like that. Something a little more lighthearted that we found out earlier today. We were on the phone just talking, and it was a fucking hard transition, but in case anybody missed it, there was a man in Britain that stole 200,000 Cadbury Creme Eggs. Hold on, let me find his name. I do want to shout him out.
He needs to. He will be coming on the podcast.
Hold on, let me go find him. Hold on, let me find him. 200,000 eggs stole. It's Jody something. I can't remember his last name. Joby Poole is his name. 30-year-old Joby Poole stole 200,000 Cadbury Creme Eggs. That is, I saw a New York Times article about it, so this information is coming from them. But they said it was $37,000 worth of Cadbury Creme Eggs. And when we were on the phone earlier, we
did some math. Little math.
All right. We did some math because we were curious as to how long it would take somebody to eat.
What was your prediction? What is your prediction? What was your? Did you have a thought? Because I had said I think it would take 200,000 Cadbury eggs. I was thinking it would take about 9 months, and I was very wrong.
You'd have to be going. I have the answer here in front of me, so I can't really make a prediction. I probably would have guessed like maybe a couple of years. That's a lot of Cadbury Creme Eggs, but like I would not have guessed that the answer was what it is. So just a little math.
How'd you come to this calculation? And what is your Yeah,
here's some math from two guys that are not particularly great at math. So it's 200,000 Cadbury Creme Eggs. There are 150 calories per egg. And if you ate 3,000 calories worth of eggs per day, it would take 27.4 years to eat all of them. 27.4 years to eat 200,000 Cadbury Creme Eggs. And that's if you ate nothing else, 3,000 calories a day, all Cadbury Creme Eggs, 27.4 years.
Dude, your fucking teeth would fall out.
Yeah. You would have I'm sure, a number of issues with your health before you got to 27.4.
I think you would probably die before you fucking made it there.
Yeah, dude, your teeth would fall out. Honestly, your whole body would just stop working, I'm sure, because you can't. Humans were not made to survive off Cadbury Creme Eggs, despite how fucking delicious they are.
They are so fucking good. I wish that if someone listening to this podcast is a fucking, some sort of fucking, is a bioengineer a job? I don't fucking know. Well, bioengineer us some healthy Cadbury eggs.
Actually, better yet, Joby Pool, steal some more and send them my way.
Yeah, dude, come on the fucking podcast. He will be on here.
Well, he got caught. Just to kind of wrap the little story up, he got caught not long after he stole the eggs, and I forget what police department it was, but they had a little fun with it on Twitter. He was convicted, found guilty of criminal damage and theft, and he is set to be sentenced on, I believe it's either March 4th or March 14th. After he gets out of prison, it'd be fun to talk to him, see what was going through his head.
I wonder what kind of sentence he'll get. I wonder if it was just like a giant fucking prank.
I don't know what is the appropriate punishment for stealing 200,000 Cadbury Creme Eggs. I really don't know. So it's. I mean, I understand it's $37,000 worth of eggs, which, I mean, that's fair. Like, if you stole $37,000 from anyone, you would probably get a pretty heavy sentence. But
it's hilarious.
Cadbury Creme Eggs.
It's fucking funny. I think you should get
funny.
You should get like a Tosh.0 web redemption. Do people still does he still fucking have a show? I have no fucking clue.
I don't know. I've not thought about that show in a long time. I have no idea. But yeah, Joby Pool, after you get out of prison, hit me up. Let's talk about this heist that he did, because it is, I will say, one of the funniest freaking heists I've ever heard of. Even the police thought it was funny. The people that arrested him for it thought it was hilarious and made jokes on Twitter. He was
caught pretty quick, wasn't he?
He was caught my understanding, or the way it sounded in the article, is that he was caught like down the road. Like, I don't even know that he made it anywhere with the eggs. I think they caught him fairly quickly. So it's hilarious. It's very funny. You shouldn't steal anything. You shouldn't steal $37,000 worth of anything, but
if you're going to steal $30,000 worth of anything, you should do it in Cadbury eggs.
Yeah, he had a good business plan, I will say. Easter is coming up in a few months, whatever. He would have had a monopoly on the Cadbury Creme Eggs. He could have sold them for a profit. I get what he was going for.
How many do you think? How many Cadbury Creme Eggs are eaten every Easter? It's got to be fucking millions.
Hold on, we could do this. Will be one of the last things we do before we close this out. But how many? Fuck, I can't spell. I misspelled the word how. Creme eggs are eaten. I'll just do every year.
Oh shit! Okay, fucking 500 million cream eggs are made every year, with 2/3 of them being enjoyed in the UK.
Oh my god, 500 million!
Holy fuck! They should have let him keep them. What the fuck? That was hilarious.
He didn't even steal that many.
He stole that fucking minuscule amount. 500 million?
A fraction. He stole a fraction of a fraction, man. 500 million. They had so many more. They didn't even need the 200,000 that he stole. Oh my God, 500 million. 2/3 are eaten in the UK. I like Cadbury Creme Eggs, but not as much as the Brits, I don't guess.
Holy fuck! What the fuck is what is the problem? I can't do an accent, but
No, I can't either.
I don't. You fucking. That's not offensive to the British, because you're one of them, aren't you? As your fucking descendants.
Yeah. I came from over there a while back, a long time ago, so it's fine. It's totally fine. That's a lot of eggs. That is. Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty good way to close it out. No, it's been good. There were some other things that we could have got to, but there's some fights going on right now. So we're going to hop off here and go watch some of them. Quick predictions before we do. Oh, shit, I don't have them pulled up. So not as quick predictions before we hop off. Oh, come on.
Put together a big parlay earlier. I wonder if it's hidden.
Hold on. Let me find it. very well prepared for this episode.
Yeah. If they made it this far in, y'all just fucking chill, you know?
Oh, wait, hold on. I posted them on Twitter already. Let me see. Yeah, I've got Jessica Andrade right, and Jim Miller, OSP, I think are winning all today. So
OSP's fighting right now. Yeah, so fucking yeah.
Oh shit! Let's hop off here. See if my predictions land. They did not last week, and I predicted every single fight wrong. So don't take your betting advice from us either.
No.
Yeah, that's it for us. Let's hop out of here and go watch some fights.